Hi, this is Damion. So unfortunately, millions of UK households will see their energy bills rocket as the price cap is hiked to £3,549 from October, with regulator Ofgem announcing an 80% energy increase that risks pushing more families into fuel poverty this winter. So winter energy bills are set to be more than triple what they were a year ago, costing more than 11% of a household's median disposable income, according to the Office of National Statistics. The price cap, it sets a limit on the rates you pay for each unit of gas and electricity, so UK households that use more will obviously pay more. Read a quote today where they said, "We know the massive impact this price cap increase will have on households across Britain and the difficult decisions consumers will now have to make. I talk to customers regularly and I know today's news will be very worrying for many." So that's Jonathan Brearley, the CEO of Ofgem. And Ofgem said the increase in energy bills reflects the continued rise in global wholesale gas prices, which began to surge as the world unlocked from the obvious COVID pandemic and have been driven still higher to record levels by Russia slowly switching off gas supplies to Europe. So the CEO also said that they are working with ministers, consumer groups and industry on a set of options for the upcoming Prime Minister that will require urgent action. The response is clearly going to need to match the scale of the crisis we've got before us. With the right support in place and with regulator, government, industry and consumers working together, there is a way to fight through this. And Ofgem also warned that the market gas in winter means prices could get significantly worse through next year. The regulator isn't given a price cap projection for January and when the cap will next change because the market remains way too volatile. However, Ofgem's boss told BBC's Radio 4 that prices look like they will, unfortunately, continue to rise. As well as lifting the price cap by 80%, Ofgem on Friday also strengthened the rules around direct debits to ensure suppliers set them at the right level. The changes will stop suppliers from building up excessive customer credit balances and using them in a risky way as working capital. It said the escalating energy crisis may actually cause more pain for households than the 2008 financial crisis, according to the consultancy Baringa Partners. So what is the energy price cap? The price cap, it basically limits the rates a supplier can charge for their default tariffs. These include a standing charge, and for each kilowatt of electricity and gas, the unit your bill is calculated from. It doesn't cap the total bill, which will change depending on how much energy used, but the price cap was introduced on the 1st of January 2019 by the regulator Ofgem, with the aim of preventing the millions of households on certain expensive variable tariffs from being ripped off. So the cap does not apply to fixed rate deals, for which quotes are now almost always far higher than what you'd pay on a variable tariff, and standing charges, the daily rate billed to customers regardless of how much energy they choose or they use, are also limited by the cap. So when will the price cap actually be updated? So Ofgem used to update the energy price twice a year. However, it's recently moved the update for 4 times a year from October. That means the cap is set to change in January, April, July and October. So how is the energy cap how's it calculated? So the price cap is based on a range of costs that energy suppliers face. They include wholesale energy costs, and these make up around half of your bill and change depending on market conditions. There's network costs, so the cost of building and running the pipes and wires that actually bring the energy to your home, and they vary by region. So there are different price cap levels for different areas, basically. You've got operating costs. So these are the costs that suppliers incur for administration, like billing or meter reading services. And then finally, you have the policy costs. So these relate to government initiatives such as saving energy or reducing emissions. There's also a profit margin so that suppliers can reap a return. So does the price cap vary from person to person? But caps vary from region to region, meaning households in areas where electricity is more expensive to transport such as Devon and Cornwall, they'll pay more on their standing charge than those living in London. So the cap is lowest for those paying by direct debit, and this payment is actually cheaper for suppliers. So this is reflected in the cap. The cap is higher again for those who pay quarterly or by cash or check, and this reflects the cost energies companies incur for processing this type of payment. And if you prepay your energy, the price cap is set higher. Ofgem says it costs more to bill customers with prepayment meters compared to those paying by direct debit. And you've got James Cooper at Baringa. He said that the impact to society will actually be higher than the 2008 crash in terms of the impact on households. He said, we're now moving into a territory where a majority of households are placed into debt or a very fragile financial position. Energy poverty is defined as when a household must spend more than 10% of its income on fuel, and the increase in the energy price cap will raise the peak in inflation to levels not seen for over a generation. So poorer households will suffer great hardship as a result, which will require a substantive fiscal intervention, and there will be way more pressure for bank rates to increase, particularly if it's felt that the Bank of England has to re-establish its credibility against a backdrop of increasing political interference. So economic and political circumstances have changed markedly basically from the spring, and it's critical that we move into a substantive fiscal event in the autumn, incorporating basically a reassessment of the new government's economic priorities and the prospects for the UK economy in a turbulent world. So energy costs, they could eventually drain as much as 17 or 18% of household income in the next year if the government doesn't give more help based on price cap estimates. So customer debt is already on the rise in the summer, and people usually pay down debt built up during the winter when they use more energy. And workers across the country will have woken up to the news that they basically need to pay 80% more for their energy bills at a time when they're already facing a record 3% fall in wages. In particular, it's a hammer blow for the 6.2 million people in severely insecure and low-paid work and have already been struggling to make ends meet. So the new Prime Minister must grasp the severity of this situation and basically bring forward an emergency budget to give workers across the country support as we head for a living standards crisis that, without intervention, is only going to get worse. And when it comes to preparing for autumn and winter, I would suggest you got to start now. If you pay for your energy by cash or check, call your supplier, find out how much you can save by switching to direct debit. Not only is it going to save you money, but it's actually going to help you spread out your payments over a year rather than peaks in bills in the winter months. If you haven't got a smart meter, get one so you can use the in-home display unit to see how much energy appliances use in real time. I do it. I love it. It's very useful. This can actually help where you can make changes, where you save money. And more importantly, having a smart meter means your bills will be as accurate as possible. If you don't have one, make sure you're submitting regular meter readings. And if you're struggling to pay your energy bills, you're actually not alone. The first step is to contact your supplier to find out if there's any support available. Helping households by freezing the price cap at the current level for 2 years would require about £100 billion, according to Keith Anderson, who's the chief exec of Scottish Power, which has warned the government needs to raise its energy bills discussed by at least 150% or risk pushing millions of households into financial distress. The consumer group said the government's financial support for all households is got to increase from the £400 to £1,000, or from £67 to £167 per month from October to March. The existing support package is inadequate to protect living standards for those on the lowest incomes. No immediate extra help will be announced by Boris Johnson's government, with major financial decisions being postponed until either Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak is in number 10 after the Tory leadership contest. So the Resolution Foundation has warned that UK households simply do not have enough money to pay their energy bills, as these are set to cost around £2,000 more this year. And British Gas are actually going to donate 10% of its profits to help its poorer customers manage rising gas and electricity bills for the duration of the energy crisis. While Putin is driving up energy prices in revenge for our support of Ukraine's brave struggle for freedom, people are working flat out to develop options to further support. This will mean the incoming Prime Minister can basically hit the ground running and deliver support to those who need it. I hope this article is helpful. This is Damion Merry from Luxury Property Partners.